Hello again, welcome to a new week. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you, you're the real MVP. But if you're new to my channel, hello, my name is Grace, but you can call me Gracie, and I am on a journey to grow 22 inches of hair. Yes, you heard right, girl, I want them inches. So I will be using different products and techniques that I will hopefully be able to incorporate into my usual hair care routine so that I can reach that goal sooner rather than later. So if that's something you're interested in, then please do consider subscribing and of course hitting that notification bell so you know every time I upload. And while you're there, why not follow me on my other social media accounts, which should appear somewhere around me right now. And if at any point during my hair growth journey you do decide to use one of the products or techniques that I'm using, then please go ahead and use this hashtag Gracie Crew Growth Journey so that I know that you are one of us. So with that being said, let's get into this video. So let's get right into it. If you see me looking to the side, as always, I'm looking at my notes just to ensure that I talk about everything we need to talk about. Alright, so the first one, what are protective styles? So protective styles are, as the word protective says, meant to protect your hair from different things that would cause it to either become dry or brittle, or would cause some type of hair loss because of the external environment. Maybe if you live in a dry environment, or it's been particularly hot, or just as well from our own selves, because I know as people who love natural hair, sometimes we want to touch our hair all the time, we want to style it, we want to try this and that product. So protective styles are a great way to just allow your hair to be in a very kind and optimum environment, to allow it to grow, to protect it from anything that might cause it any type of damage. And that is why protective styles promote hair growth, because it's basically just allowing your hair to incubate, and every once in a while, you know, you make sure that everything is still good, still correct, and as well it allows for some stretching to happen, so it's easier for the hairs at the bottom to come out due to less compression on them. So that last part is kind of just like an idea I have. I don't know if it's factually true, but I think so. Okay, so number 2, what are the benefits to your hair of protective styling? As I said before, not only does it protect your hair from not necessarily chemical damage, but from the elements in the environment that might dry it out, damage it, or from your own self from touching it too much. It also helps to promote hair growth. It's also great for those who don't always have time to do your hair, you don't always have time to be playing around with it. It's great because then you can just wake up, get it looking neat, and you're good to go. So those are the main benefits to the hair. As well, it's great for people who are trying to grow their hair without doing too much, because all you have to do is just basically ensure that your scalp is clean, your protective style is looking good as well, it's not stressing out your hair, and you're good to go. So I would say those are the main benefits. It does definitely promote hair growth, and it also definitely helps with length retention. But there are some dangers of protective styling that we need to talk about. Now, when you are and I will get into this in our last point on how to pick a protective style, but when you have a protective style in, there are certainly things that you need to do to ensure that you do not end up experiencing one of these dangers. So first I'll deal with the dangers first, and then we'll get into picking a protective hairstyle and how to take care of it. So the dangers would be that some protective hairstyles, for example, if you're using braiding extensions or braiding hair, that material you might find out that your scalp is actually sensitive to that material, so it may actually cause a breakout on your scalp. The other thing is, it's very common that some people who may, like some professionals or someone doing your hair, may pull on your hair, which would result in you losing some hair or your hair getting weak and damaged. Another thing is, if you are not taking care of your hair in a protective style, it might actually do the opposite, where if your hair is dry, you're not moisturizing it, you're not paying attention to the health of your scalp, it will actually cause you to lose hair and experience breakage instead of promoting hair growth. The other thing is, it's actually very easy to harbor dirt in your hair, which could cause bacterial growth. It could cause some, infections on your scalp if you're not careful. So that's also an important thing to note when you're getting protective styles, is understand that they're not just something where you just completely leave your hair alone. No, there's still things you need to do here and there to ensure that it's an optimum environment for your hair. As with any other thing we do with our hair, I remember I said in a previous video that hair care is all about achieving a balanced and healthy environment for your hair to thrive. That's what it's all about. Okay, so now we're going to go into how to pick a protective style. So generally, things like color and the type, I wouldn't say across the board it's something that I can say, oh, because you have this type of hair, you can't have this hairstyle. I would definitely say there are some cardinal things that you need to consider when getting a protective style. The first one is, how long are you going to keep it in? And that will determine if you will need to get maybe something like braiding extensions. Maybe you'll need to find a way to keep your hair intact without you having to redo it every few days or every once a week, so that maybe if you're keeping it for a long period of time, that hairstyle can still be something that you can use to go out and still look beautiful, still look presentable. So that's something to consider. How long are you keeping it in? The second thing is, however long you keep keeping it in, determines how you're going to take care of your hair. The longer your braids or your protective style, my apologies, because we always associate protective style with braids, but the longer your protective style is staying in, the more that you need to pay attention to making sure it's washed and conditioned and moisturized. And the great thing about a protective style is you do not need to use as many products when it comes to moisturizing your hair, because remember, your hair is not necessarily exposed to the environment depending on what type of protective style you're doing. So in most cases, all you will need to do most of the time is just spray some type of water or product that has a very large amount of water in its ingredients. That way your hair is not drying out. Then as well, it's also the best place to be using very light oils. You don't need to be using a whole lot of oils, because again, your hair will not be losing these, your hair will not be losing moisture as fast or as often as it does when it's just simply left out and exposed to the environment, like my hair is, even though this is still a protective style, but we'll get into that. So yeah, how long you're gonna keep it in, and the longer you keep it in, you need to wash it. Then you need to also consider, the third thing is the tension, the amount of tension on your hair, which is very, very important. You do not want a hairstyle that will constantly cause tension on your hair, and it doesn't matter where the tension is. It could be on the side, it could be in the middle. You do not want that, because what that basically is doing is it's going to continue to weaken the strands of your hair. You're going to see breakage. That's why some people will complain that after they've done a protective style, instead of their hair growing, they're experiencing breakage. This is one of the main reasons. So be careful about the tension. You want it tight enough to where, of course, it doesn't slip out, it doesn't come undone, and it still looks neat, but not to the point where it's painful, you're getting headaches, you can't even turn your head to the side, you can't do anything about it. If at all, I would say, if the tension you're experiencing, at least after like maybe a few hours, starts to ease up, then that's acceptable. But if 24 hours later you still can't move your head, you still can't even get to go to bed, you can't pretty much do a lot, that is a no. And most people think that tension is just about the tension we experience on the front. No, it's everywhere, because you could find that maybe the person applies too much tension to this part of your hair, and you will start to experience a huge amount of hair loss here. We do not want that, so be careful about the amount of tension. Something I also learned the hard way is about if you're getting anything that involves braiding extensions, actually even with your own hair, consider the size and the length. Now, length is preferable, but be careful that the longer the extensions you're using are, the more weight that your hair has to carry. Then as well, the size matters, because there are some hairstyles that last longer and look neater if maybe they have a particular size. So look into that and understand that, okay, if it's this particular size or this particular length, that I need to be careful how I'm styling the hair, how I'm treating my head with every protective style. As I said before with the second point, avoid too much tension as much as you can. It's probably one of those things that makes protective styles more so dangerous if you're not careful how you're taking care of them. Okay, the other thing when picking a protective style is as well, consider how much time you have to take care of the hair. Some protective styles require you to refresh them every maybe 2 weeks or every week perhaps, so take that into consideration. Are you going to have time to wash through your hair? Are you going to have time to refresh the hairstyle? Are you going to have time to, you know, make sure it's looking neat, or you just want something that once it's done, it's done, there's no further styling involved? Take all of that into consideration so that you get the best protective style that is best for you. Then as well, if you're in an environment that has a particular code in terms of how you're supposed to appear, that's also something to consider. Though I think these days most companies, most workplaces are being more considerate of the type of hairstyles we do, so which is great. So the last point is how to take care of your protective style. I did mention some of these points before, but one thing you must ensure is that I would understand within the first 2 weeks if you do not wash your hair, because you still want the hairstyle looking nice and neat and all those lines perfect and good. But I would say after 2 weeks has gone by, which is 14 days, please make sure you do some type of like cleansing, especially for your scalp, because remember, when it's in this natural state where it's left out, at least it does not experience exposure to the environment. But when you have a protective style in, it means that your scalp is more exposed, so obviously it's going to dry out more often. So make sure that you have a routine on how you're taking care of your scalp and how you're going to ensure that your hair is still moisturized. So do things like spraying your hair with water, if not every day, at least every 2 days. As I said, wash your scalp. Make sure that every time you wash it as well, oil it, not with too much oil, but with a very light oil that will penetrate into your hair strands and your scalp. And of course, sleep with a bonnet, or if you prefer a scarf, go ahead, or you can sleep with a satin pillowcase if it makes it easier for you, just so your hair doesn't catch any dust or anything like that. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Simple. You can also look into my protective style wash day just to get more ideas of how to take care of your protective style. So my time is running out, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week. Bye.